Our first playable Genshin character from the Japanese-inspired region of Inazuma is finally here with the release of Kaedehara Kazuha. And just like with every character in this game, there is so much detail behind every aspect of his design. So today in this video, I'm going to be discussing some of those things, including his name, visual design, talent names, and more. Disclaimer, as always, this discussion will mostly be speculation based, so if you have anything to add or correct, feel free to leave a comment. Also, for the sake of this video, I will be referring to him as Kazuha, though I understand the importance of his full name very well. With that said, let's get into it. Everything about Kazuha very clearly revolves around maple trees and maple leaves. If you're from the West, that might make you think of Canada because of their flag, but actually 2/3 of all species of maple trees are from Eastern Asia. All maple trees exist under the genus of Acer, and the specific species associated with Kazuha is the Acer palmatum, or Japanese maple. We know this because it is the name of his constellation. Acer is Latin for sharp, and palmatum is Latin for hand-like. Although they originally referred to describing the shape of maple leaves, these meanings could also potentially relate to Kazuha's swordsmanship. These trees are characterized by their foliage, which turns from green into shades of deep red every autumn. Historically, they have been a common subject of Asian art and poetry. Sometimes the leaves floating in a river would represent going with the flow, or leaves stuck in a ditch would represent people being stuck in life. Additionally, Japanese maples are commonly used in the art of bonsai, growing miniature trees. This is because they have strong endurance and can easily adapt to different climates. All of these themes definitely relate to Kazuha's story, as he went from being the son of a noble family to a wandering traveler, then later abandoned his homeland of Inazuma and had to adjust to life with the Crux fleet. Japanese maples can also represent peace, paralleling Kazuha's desire to end pointless conflict. Lastly, momiji-gari, or maple tree viewing, is common in Japan during the autumn season. According to the Shinto religion, this act represents connecting with the spirits of nature. One thing unique about Kazuha is how in tune with nature he is. After the Kaedehara clan had dissipated, he became very observant of his natural surroundings and acquired the ability to read its sounds to predict the weather. As we will continue to see in the rest of this video, Kazuha's relation to maple leaves only gets deeper and deeper. The name Kaedehara Kazuha is originally Japanese, of course. That means that it is constructed of these characters called kanji. Each one has its own set of possible meanings and readings, and they are often combined to create different words. Let's start with Kaedehara, his surname and the name of the clan of samurai of which he is from. This contains the kanji for maple and field, so that translates to something along the lines of a maple grove. Kazuha, on the other hand, has the character for 10,000 and leaf. However, the first character can also be used in a less literal sense to refer to a generally large number, so a translation might be something like a myriad of leaves. Interestingly, the kanji which make up Kazuha can alternatively be read as manyo, just like the Manyo Shu, the oldest collection of classical Japanese poetry in existence. We know that Kazuha is no stranger to poems because his character demo opens with him reciting a haiku, a Japanese style of poem that follows the 575 syllable structure. In terms of Kazuha's visual design, there's a lot to break down, so let's go roughly from top to bottom. Kazuha seems to have some form of kimono on, which you can see in the upper half of his body. The jacket covering his left arm is a haori, which typically have stylish designs. Kazuha's is fittingly adorned with imagery of maple leaves. The rest of the haori is draped around Kazuha's waist. Samurai typically wore full sets of armor, such as the Oyoroi or Domaru, but Kazuha only wears a single shoulder guard called a sode. It has your typical layered armor look to it. Like with other single shoulder guards, it is likely worn under the assumption that you can defend one side of your body with your sword using your unrestricted arm, and then the other side has that added extra bit of protection. Kazuha has his right hand bandaged up, but not his left hand, likely to protect his dominant hand from being damaged by holding his sword. The pants seem to be a modified kind of umanori hakama, which feature wide legs and defined pleats. Kazuha's only go down past his knees, but typically they would be the length of the full leg. Kazuha's belt is a specific one called a kaku obi. Obi in general help hold traditional Japanese clothing in place, but kaku obi in particular are also used for iaido swordsmanship, which will be discussed more in the next section. The knot resembles an ichimonji musubi, meaning straight line knot. This simple knot is the preferred one for those wearing a hakama. Around Kazuha's calves are kyahan, cloth leggings worn by samurai. Usually, they served as padding between the leg and armor, but they could also be worn by themselves as protection from cold and insects. On Kazuha's feet, he is wearing tabi, traditional Japanese socks that separate the big toe from the rest of your toes. These were used so socks could be comfortably worn with traditional Japanese shoes that are all put on like sandals. This allowed for shoes to be put on or taken off very easily, which was necessary due to how loose flowing traditional clothing would often get in the way. Kazuha's shoes most closely resemble zori, which are not nearly as tall as other kinds of traditional Japanese sandals. Overall, Kazuha's visual design is a strong mix of traditional Japanese clothing and modern styling with a touch of battle practicality. And even though this isn't a part of Kazuha's design, his splash art features him holding a katana, a Japanese sword characterized by a curved single-edged blade and a handle with a tsukamaki pattern. Kazuha's attack animations are really impressive when you take a second to look at them closely. One thing which makes his stand out, of course, is his faux sheath for his sword. The reason why he doesn't have a real one is because with how Genshin's swords are so varied in shape, it would definitely cause model clipping. The image on the sheath is the Mitsudomoe, a symbol within the Shinto religion. It can symbolize many things, such as heaven, earth, and man, or represent qualities like strength and courage. There are many different sword fighting styles for samurai, each with different purposes and techniques, but one style that seems to have been an influence for Kazuha is Muso Jikiden Eishin Ryu. This style focuses on iaido, the skill of drawing the sword and cutting within the same motion. Kazuha's English talent and constellation names are a combination of translated and romanized Japanese words. Romanization is the process of converting Japanese sounds, represented by kana, to English words consisting of letters of the alphabet. In his normal attack, Garyu from Garyu Bladework means self-taught, which makes sense given how Kazuha seems to have not been formally trained by his own clan. Elemental skill Chihayaburu means tremendous power, but its significance more so comes from it being the opening line to a famous poem. The Ogura Hyakunin Ishu is a collection of 100 classical Japanese poems by 100 different poets. Poem 17, written by Ariwara no Narihira around the 12th century, describes the beautiful sight of autumn leaves on the Tatsuta River. Plunge attack Midare Ranzan roughly means windstorm slash, referring to the destruction caused by high-speed winds. Elemental burst Kazuha slash is a bit off-putting to some people, but as far as translation goes, it's just as accurate as the other ones. The Japanese name of the talent is this, where the first two characters can be read as either Kazuha or Manyo. It is basically impossible to maintain the significance of this duality while translated though. However, regardless of which reading is used, it still means slash of 10,000 leaves. The translation makes a lot more sense if you think of it as the word Kazuha, meaning a myriad of leaves, rather than the character's own name. Soumon, from Kazuha's first ascension passive, Soumon Swordsmanship, references the aforementioned Manyo Shu. In it, poems are divided into three genres: Zoka, or miscellaneous poems, Soumonka, referring to love poems, or Banka, which mourn the deceased. Soumon itself means connection through listening to one another, which fits the passive talent that connects Kazuha with a nearby element by absorbing it into Chihayaburu and Midare Ranzan. Fubutsu, in Ascension Passive 4, Poetics of Fubutsu, refers to Japanese poems about natural scenery and the four seasons. This fits well into Kazuha's strong ties to nature, but the four seasons could also relate to the four elements which Kazuha can swirl. Lastly, Kazuha's utility passive, Cloud Strider, is the only name that is a significant departure from the Japanese version. Originally, it is Kasumi Tatsu Matsukaze, roughly meaning the sound of mist blowing through pine trees. Kasumi Tatsu is the opening line to poem 846 in the Manyo Shu, which talks about a plum blossom on a spring day. Moving on to constellations, it's more or less the same deal. C1, Senzan Momiji, meaning 8,000 autumn-colored mountains, is translated to Scarlet Hills. Senzan is the first half of Senzan Bansui, a Japanese idiom meaning a great distance to travel. C2, Yama Arashi Zanshin, meaning prepared for a mountain storm, is translated as Yama Arashi Tailwind. It was likely changed since there's no succinct way to translate Zanchin while romanizing Yama Arashi, but I also feel that Tailwind is quite fitting. A tailwind blows in the direction you are going, giving you a boost, similar to how the field created by Kazuha's Elemental Burst grants a boost in Elemental Mastery. C3 is really interesting because it contains monogatari, a Japanese word meaning story, although the Japanese constellation name doesn't even include that word. In Japanese, it is Kaede Sode Kidan. The first kanji means maple, the second means sleeve, and the last two translate to a romantic or colorful story. The maple sleeve could be referring to his actual sleeve or his shoulder guard, and Kidan fits with the theme of poems. So although a different Japanese word was used for the English translation, it means roughly the same thing. C4 contains two romanized words, Ozora Genpo. Ozora literally means great sky, the third kanji means illusion, and the fourth kanji means method. Sky is quite fitting for this constellation specifically since it includes a benefit for gliding in the air when on low energy. In C5, Bansei Shu, Bansei means eternity, and Shu means a collection of, just like the Manyoshu. Bansei could potentially be a reference to the Electro Archon being Teyvat's god of eternity. And lastly, C6 is Chi Aka no Momiji, meaning blood red maple leaves. It is translated to be a bit more straightforward as Crimson Momiji. As a last note to this video, I just want to say that translating is harder than you probably think it is. Especially with Japanese where the sounds, grammar, and writing are all completely different from English, it's always a tough but necessary decision to include certain meanings while discarding other ones. For example, do you romanize a Japanese word or translate it? Translating it causes it to lose some of its cultural significance, but romanizing it requires the audience to do their own research to even have a basic understanding of it. What I'm trying to get at is that we should be respectful of the translators because what makes a good translation is all subjective opinion. With that said, I hope that this video taught you something new and showcased just how detailed Kazuha's design really is. As always, thank you so much for watching.